Hello, my name is Peyton Olenek, and I'm doing a presentation over gun violence in Chicago. I picked Chicago because it's an area where I am from, um, about an hour away uh, from the city. I lived there my freshman year of college. I went to a JUCO there, which is a junior college in River Grove, so I can kind of relate to a little bit of what's going on. For my target audience, I would say that gun violence should be an everyone problem because it just doesn't happen in Chicago. I'm just focusing most of my data from Chicago. So here we go. So what is gun violence? Gun violence is gun-related violence is violence committed with the use of a firearm. Gun-related violence may or may not be considered criminal. Criminal violence includes homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, and suicide or attempted suicide, depending on jurisdiction. Is this an ongoing issue? Well, more than 600 people are estimated to die every day from gun violence, which is crazy to hear about because if you turn on the news, you see about four or five um, that happen, and the other 500 plus, 600 plus are pushed to the side, like, and you don't really hear anything about it, which is crazy to think about that 600 people die every single day, and it's kind of like the news is like pushing it away, which is just crazy to hear about. So statistics of gun violence in Chicago. So Chicago people are on edge as violent crime is up 7.5% this year. Gun violence has exploded with some neighborhoods seeing over 100% increase in fatal shootings. So I have this quote here that says, "We are seeing a very specific increase in gun-related crimes." Um, so I was from River Grove and I lived in River Grove for a year, and on the street where I grew up or lived at, we heard a lot of gunshots just from neighboring like neighborhoods, and it's like a really scary sight to like hear and see, especially when I'm there on my own and with two other buddies, and you're hearing gunshots where it's like a dangerous area, and people are like afraid to go out and walk around at night just because the chance of getting hit with a cross bullet or being in a wrong situation at the wrong time, like it's just an issue that needs to be talked about more and needs to be like taken care of. Statistics of gun violence around the world. Again, I think that gun violence is an issue that we have to talk about for the whole world to hear, not just a major city. I know there's multiple towns and other cities that are probably worse than Chicago. So the US has the 32nd highest rate of deaths from gun violence in the world, 3.96 deaths per 100,000 people. And I have another quote here that says, "It is surprising that a country like ours should have that level of gun violence. If you compare us to the other well-off countries, we really stand out." So I think of the United States as like a country that everyone looks up to. Like we have the most money, or one of the most money. Um, we have far advanced technology than everyone else, and it's crazy that we have these issues. Like what the quote's saying, like if you compare us to other well-off countries, we really stand out because we do. You see, the United States has higher gun violence issues, and it's more of a common thing. Like gun violence is more common, like problem in the U.S. and in other countries. And I ask myself, why is that? And it's just crazy, like seeing all the numbers and all the mass shootings, mass murders, and the stuff that goes on in the United States, and we're supposed to be that high-end country that people look up to. So effects on gun violence in communities. Trauma from community gun violence doesn't end when the physical wounds heal. Individuals could experience trauma, depression, anxiety, etc. Youth who had witnessed or who were victims of violence with a weapon were 44% and 73% more likely to develop hypertension in adulthood as their exposed peers. So, again, I've never been in a case where I know someone that has been, uh, impacted by gun violence. Uh, I'm I've never I got to experience that. Like I have had experience like I've heard gunshots before where I was living at, and it's actually like really scary. And I know now, like when I'm walking home at night, I always check over my shoulder, make sure that I'm always out of the path or out of harm's way. And I think that's just an ongoing issue because of gun violence that people have to be scared to walk at night or be afraid, which you shouldn't have to be. Short-term solutions to gun violence. Ban assault weapons and high capacity ammunition magazines. Require background checks for all gun sales. Make extreme risk protection orders available in every state. Support local violence prevention and intervention programs. So, with these short term solutions, they could be small steps to helping or supporting the problem. Obviously, it wouldn't fix the problem immediately, but little things towards the end goal matter too. With short term goals, they're just goals that lead you into the right step. They're not goals that are going to fix the problem right away. Obviously, they're smaller and take less time, but it's also steps towards that right direction where we need to fix the problem or take steps to fixing the problem than just not doing anything at all. Long-term solutions of gun violence. In Chicago, the city's budget will pump $411 million more into the mayor's Our City, Our Safety plan, which focuses on 15 of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods, which is a really good thing to hear because that's a lot of money to these neighborhoods where they might be struggling, and that's why violence is up so much, is because everyone's fighting for survival. So dumping that much money in to those neighborhoods can maybe fix gun violence rates or at least slow them down a little bit. $85 million will go to the violence reduction programs and $62 million towards affordable housing, which again, those low end neighborhoods are going to get better housing for their families, which they will be better off on. And then the violence reduction programs with people struggling with violence could be put in there and get help that they need. And, that's always a good step. Disarm all domestic abusers or clearing out guns in big cities. The problem with that is that it will take a long time to clear out every single gun. Even might not be possible because of the many ways to get your hands on guns. So putting restrictions on gun manufacturers would slow the producing of guns. And again, you have to, if it's slowing down the gun manufacturers, there's already probably millions and millions and millions of guns that have entered the United States illegally or legally. Um, and you can even make guns like you can make guns now, which I'm sure the parts are not that hard to get your hands on. And I think like just taking that step where maybe we can clear out a lot of the guns and maybe see how that affects the rates um, and as a whole would be beneficial for the city too, or cities around the world. It would just be like an interesting thing to see, or if people are already starting to do that. And then my last slide is works cited, and that is it for my presentation. Thank you.